Are you finished, Senator Hartling? Thank you. Senator Omidvar.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to get a quick question and answer into all three of our guests. Mr. McSorley, thank you for being with us. I listened to your presentation with interest. Our national security agencies, their mandate is to protect Canadians, regardless of who we are. They have to protect us. Do you believe that if the government was to follow through on your recommendations, that Canada would be more safe or less safe?
I believe it would be more safe. Of course, it's hard to say with 100%, but I think that by that we cause great harm to our own society by continuing to engage in systemic racism under the guise of national security.
And do you believe that victims who are oppressed in this way become part of the dissatisfaction and disturbance in our society? Instead of addressing them proactively, we over-victimize them, and that creates unsafety of its own kind?
You mean victims of systemic racism?
Yes.
Yes, I believe it does sow division. I wouldn't argue that it's the reason for people engaging in violence, but I would say that it's what forms the basis for ongoing discrimination and for ongoing division within our society that can lead to different forms. And in fact, some of what we argue is that the far-right extremism that we see in Canada is often fed by, and attacks on Muslims in Canada can be fed on this systemic racism that they see among the government. If the government is constantly saying the number one threat to Canada are Muslims, it is no surprise that individual Canadians would then internalize those beliefs as well. So it's important that we look at how those influence each other.
Thank you. Mr. Nakua, I did read your article that was published recently in the IRPP magazine, and you state that it is time for Canada to review its anti-terrorism laws and replace them with new fit-for-purpose alternatives. Could you expand?
Yeah. I think, as you heard from Tim and others, and there is a lot of work done into looking at the anti-terrorism laws, and some of the issues were created really embedded. So the government, maybe all that we see could be under a legal. They are acting within the confines of the law, but the laws themselves are discriminatory. And so a review of those laws, a review of some of privacy provisions, review of how the definition of terrorism itself, and review of how the risk is done, review of the transparency, review of the legal protections, the process. I would recommend for those interested to really go back to an inquiry, a Royal Commission inquiry, the MacDonald inquiry, and there it tackles very similar issues with, back then was the October crisis and how the abuses happen in Quebec. I think it emphasized the rule of law as the test, the litmus test for any discretion that the government should have in exercising its authority. I think the anti-terrorism laws give almost a free rein for agencies, and it gives them license to abuse, it gives them license to circumvent some protections, it gives them leeways to circumvent the legal protections people should enjoy, and those need to be corrected. I would imagine if we want to start this journey, we consult the New Zealand Royal Commission, where it did similar things to their local laws of anti-terrorism, and that actually was their recommendation of to redo them with the intention to achieve the social cohesion.
New Zealand follow through on those changes?
It's new. So the report was, I think, issued 2021. So I'm not sure if they said they will follow through, but it did have some detail of where there is gaps and the outcomes those laws did are really the reverse. And they need a new frame where social cohesion is the overriding principle of such laws. So I guess the review and the fit for purpose would be, how can we do laws such as these in a multicultural society where we protect the rights of everyone? I think so far there is very little interest from various governments to really come close to this review, but I think this is the way to go.
Thank you. I'll have to wait for my question to Ms. Jackman.